June 8, 1954. A housekeeper finds a man dead in his bed in a quiet English town. He's 41. On the nightstand, a half-eaten apple. The neighbors knew him as the odd fellow who bicycled around wearing a gas mask. The government knew him as a security risk. What almost nobody knew, because it was classified, is that this man had saved more human lives than possibly anyone in history. Historians estimate up to 14 million people. His reward? A criminal record. This is the story of Alan Turing, the man who invented the thing you're watching this on, won a world war with math, and got destroyed by the country he saved. Welcome back to the Comeback Men. Alan Turing was born in London 1912 into a respectable family that expected respectable things. You know how this goes by now. Young Alan was different. At 3, he buried his toy soldiers in the garden to see if they'd grow back. Scientific method unlocked. At boarding school, his teachers were not impressed. His headmaster literally wrote home, "If he is to stay at school, he must aim at becoming educated. If he is to be solely a scientific specialist, he is wasting his time." The scientific specialist they were worried about would go on to invent computer science, but sure, wasting his time. At 16, he met Christopher Morcom, his best friend, his first love, and the one person who actually understood him. 2 years later, Christopher died of tuberculosis. Turing spent the rest of his life obsessed with one question. Could a machine carry a mind? Most people journal about their grief. Alan Turing invented a new branch of mathematics. "1936. Turing is 23, at Cambridge working on an obscure logic problem that maybe 12 people on Earth cared about. His solution required inventing an imaginary machine, a machine that could read instructions from a tape and execute any computation, any program, any app. He had just described the computer. Every computer, your laptop, your phone, the thing serving you this video, they are all, mathematically speaking, Turing machines. He invented the computer as a side effect of a homework problem that nobody asked him to solve. The paper made 12 logicians very excited and changed absolutely nothing about his life. Yet. "1939. Germany invades Poland. Britain declares war, and every German military message is encrypted by a machine called Enigma. 159 quintillion possible settings changed every single midnight. The Polish had cracked an early version and handed Britain their work. Absolute legends, by the way, but the military Enigma was harder. Britain's brightest minds gathered at a secret country estate called Bletchley Park. And also Alan Turing, who showed up looking like he'd lost a fight with his own wardrobe.
Excuse me, this is tweed and the sock is for ventilation!
Rude.
Turing designed the bomb, a machine that could try Enigma settings faster than any human. It worked. Britain started reading Nazi messages, rerouting convoys around U-boats, saving thousands of lives a week. Meanwhile, Turing himself chained his tea mug to a radiator so nobody would steal it.
The bus is inefficient.
To work in a gas mask, not for the war, for his hay fever. Buried 2 silver bars in the woods as a war investment. Then built his own metal detector to find them back. It didn't work. He never found them. The father of computer science, defeated by 2 rocks in a forest. Incredible. Historians estimate Bletchley shortened the war by 2 to 4 years. That's millions of people who got to grow old because a weird man with a chained mug thought math was fun. The war ends. Britain celebrates its heroes, parades, medals, movies, and Alan Turing gets nothing. because Bletchley Park was classified top secret for 30 years. He couldn't tell his mother, he couldn't tell his friends, his neighbors thought he'd sat out the war doing whatever weird Alan stuff he did. The man saved 14 million lives and legally had to pretend he spent the war jogging. So he went back to work, built one of the world's first real computers, and in 1950 he published a little question. Can machines think? And proposed a test for it. The Turing test, the one every AI company on Earth is still arguing about, 75 years later. You know CAPTCHA? Where you prove you're human by clicking traffic lights? That's his test, running in reverse, billions of times a day. January 1952. Turing's house gets burgled. He does what you're supposed to do. He calls the police. While reporting the crime, he honestly mentions the man he was seeing, because Alan Turing didn't really do lying. The burglary investigation became an investigation of him. Homosexuality was still a crime in Britain. The man who saved the country was convicted of gross indecency in the same courts his work had protected. His choice? Prison or hormone injections. He chose the injections so he could keep working. Then they took his security clearance anyway. The man who broke Enigma was now considered a risk. 2 years later, the housekeeper found him, the apple by his bed. The inquest said suicide. He was 41. His country didn't even know what it had lost. It wasn't allowed to. And then, the comeback. It took a while. It's a big one. 1966. Computing creates its highest honor, the equivalent of a Nobel Prize. They call it the Turing Award. 1974. Bletchley's story is finally declassified. The world learns what he did. 2009. The British Prime Minister formally apologizes. His words? "We're sorry. You deserved so much better."
Apology.
2013. A royal pardon from the Queen. 2017. Turing's Law, pardoning nearly 50,000 men convicted under the same law. 2021. His face goes on the 50-pound note. The country that took his money for treatment now prints his face on its money. Today, every phone, every laptop, every AI, including the ones writing half the internet, runs on his idea. You've probably proven you're not a robot to his ghost this week. The war hero nobody was ever allowed to thank became the one name in computing nobody will ever forget. That was episode 3 of The Comeback Men. Subscribe, because unlike Alan's silver bars, we'd like to actually be found.
Is it my turn yet?
Next week,